Thanks for joining us
Thank you, sir.
once
Thank you,
again.
sir.
I
Good
hope
evening,
your
everyone.
I hope your day was not so stressful. Today is Wednesday, so I'm expecting that work will not be so choking today.
Well, thank God, sir. It was not productive, but yeah, thank God.
Okay, thank God. Welcome to yet another session. I think we should start now because we've given people enough time. Let's not um always have to wait for so long. So we can start. We'll join us later. So please let me know once you can see my screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, please confirm from your end what exactly can you see at the moment. What can you see right now?
Cleaning and transforming data.
All right, that's it. So good evening once more. Today's class builds upon where we stopped on Monday. I can remember very well on Monday we did work on like a kind of an introductory class on automation in Excel. Though we've not really delved deep into automation, we are still scratching the surface. And today's class is a continuation of that. So for today's session, we shall be focusing on Power Query. Power Query is an integral part of sorry for these disruptions. Sorry, let me handle that. Okay. Power Query is an integral part of Microsoft. A number of Microsoft products. You'll find it in Microsoft Power BI. You'll also find it in Microsoft Excel.
Your voice is cracking.
Oh, really?
I don't know if it's I don't know if it's the earpiece or something like that.
Okay.
And I don't know if I'm the only one that is experiencing it.
Please, others should confirm, please. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, it's cracking.
Okay. What about now?
It's better.
Better. Okay. So I was saying that for today's class that we'll be focusing on Power Query, an integral part of a number of Microsoft products. You'll find Power Query in Excel. You'll also find it in Power BI, and I believe in other products too. So the benefits of knowing Power Query is that once you master it, it doesn't matter whether you mastered it in Excel or Power BI or other Microsoft products. It's the interface is usually very similar, and you can still do a lot. So you don't need to relearn it again. So it's like a win-win. And the focus for the class is on cleaning and transforming data. Mark the word efficiently. That's another alternative of maybe automating certain process so that you don't have to redo it over and over all the time, right? So it saves time and then makes it offers you a more elegant way to achieve a particular objective. So first of all, what is Power Query? As defined here, it's a data preparation and connectivity tool that enables you to import, transform, and reshape your data from various sources and formats. So, in basically, it enables it's a connectivity tool. That's the first thing. So it enables you to connect with various data sources and formats of data, and which you can bring into Excel. Could be from a website. It could be from normal Excel file that all of us are familiar with, CSV files. It could be from a database. It could be from a number of other sources. But this tool enables you to connect to all these platforms, all these sources, and then bring the data, pull in the data into Excel, and then enables you to perform other transformations, reshaping of the data for analysis purpose. So it offers you a graphical interface. A graphical interface in the sense that you interact with this interface without you needing to code. you can perform the actual transformation you want to do on your data without you having to code. Those that are familiar with Python know that coding can offer its own level of difficulties, a kind of a steepy curve that you need to master before you can start interacting with. But a graphical interface is just like what you see here. I can click on this icon to refresh it. I can click on this one to close up this window and the rest. These are graphical interface. Any interface that enables you to click without writing the command. So that is what a Power Query offers us. But it's also more advanced that you can actually do advanced analysis that requires you to start writing your code. But that's for advanced use. The second thing is that it connects to a broad range of data, which includes databases, web data, cloud services, and more. And it's integrated, like I already mentioned, into a number of Microsoft products, which are often regarded as standard industry standard tools. Excel is one of them. Power BI is one of them. I keep mentioning that. Then another thing is that it offers built-in workflows for hundreds of different data transformation tasks. This means that instead of you having to reinvent the wheel over and over all the time, anytime you want to perform certain action, if it's for programming, if it's maybe you are doing your data analysis through programming, maybe Python and the rest, you need to write this code. Or if you are lucky enough and then you already have some libraries, people that have defined these functions that you just need to call, or APIs. But then even with that, you still need to write the code. You still run into certain issues that require significant time to handle. But we are lucky now that using Power Query, we don't need to pass through all those headaches. Ours is just to click on. Let's use this for instance. When I click on this very refresh button, someone has written the code. I just need to refresh. I just need to click it and it will refresh. But imagine you are coding it. I would need to write the code and then so that when I run it, the refresh will take place. So that's the difference. And for today, we are going to look at a number of things. We will just have a quick walkthrough of the interface to see what it looks like, and then we'll connect to about 2 data sources just for illustration purposes, but you can connect to a lot more. So we'll use normal text data files like our normal Excel or CSV file, and then we'll also see how to connect to a website to pull data from a website, and then we'll perform an actual data transformation, and then yeah, I think this is a repetition though. We use Power Query for quick data transformation and then to automate repetitive data cleaning tasks. And then I think basically that's it. The hands-on session will go alongside the demonstration. So I don't know if you all have your data set with you. Can you confirm if you have it handy? If someone can just
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. So that being said, we move into the actual business of the day. Let me just open Excel. Let's start from scratch, and I will demonstrate everything. Okay, so I will start with a blank workbook. Let me start with a very blank workbook so that okay, let me open this one. We all know what Excel looks like. So and then this is Excel that we have been working with. Now take a look at my directory here. In this, okay, this is session 2, right? This folder contains the dataset we are interested in. In addition to the sample superstore dataset, I just renamed this one. It's the same thing. In addition to that, I also have another dataset that would kind of a simplified form of data that I would use for demonstration purpose. So I would send this data to you so that when you get the recording, you can also practice alongside. So What I have here is the data set. This one, which is the sample superstore, is the main data we are interested in. Okay, as well as this one there. Okay, we'll first connect to this one, this dirty data. So I will see how to connect, right? Or let me go back to our slides and see which one let me show you. Okay, we'll first connect to data sources, right? Then when we want to do data transformation, okay, so in that case, I think it's better let's connect to this sample superstore just to show how to connect to data source. Then we'll do website. Then doing data transformation, this one is pretty dirty, so we'll have more to do with this one. So I'll very quickly um, go right into that. But unlike you would expect, I would not want to connect directly to this one by clicking here. I want to do it from Power Query instead. Why? It could be that this is maybe in your company, this is the file where all sales logs are stored in, right? It's possible that this very file you may not even have, like it's a kind of a protected file such that somehow the logging in of data is done automatically, right, into this very Excel workbook, right? So it's not ideal to just come and edit this one directly. Instead, we would want to connect to it so that we can have a copy of it here, and then we'll do whatever we want to do while leaving this very one um, protected. So how do we do that? Sorry. And like I mentioned in the last class, we should always take note of this and this, right? So to launch Power Query, just come to this place, data tab. I don't know the version of Excel you have, but you should definitely see this data tab. Then we have a number of um, things we can see here that relate to data, right? First of all, this group here is for that's get and transform data. Remember, grouping, query connections, sort and filters, data tools, forecast, and outline. So this is the area that enables us to get our data from different sources. So if I click here to see the drop down, I can see the different options that are available to me, either from file, which could be an Excel workbook, or a CSV file, or an XML file, a JSON file, PDF, from folder, or from slide, SharePoint folder. We also have from databases different options available to us: Azure, SQL Server database. We have Oracle, we have Postgres, and so on. We have other Microsoft enterprise softwares or platforms like the Azure, and we have a lot of them. We also have from online services, that is SharePoint Online from Microsoft Exchange. You can see that we have a lot of options. Then we also have from other options. We have from table range, even from web, that's from a website, and then just like that. Then we can go on other things like merge and combine, as in merge and append and so on. Now, my version of Excel allows me to just click here directly to launch Power Query. But in other cases, there are times that you may find it under one of these options here. When you open, I think combine queries or something like that. If you see that drop down, like in other versions of Excel, you would see it somewhere within there. But once you see launch Power Query, then so I will just click on launch Power Query. But before I do that, you can also see that a number of these options, like these are like hotkeys, the most the most used features. So let me just zoom in. So they just made it available to us, um, like from text. I think I have to zoom in, like from text and CSV, from web and the rest of them. Here you can see recent sources that you connected to, existing connections. This is where you can refresh your data. This is where you can edit your like queries and connections and the rest. So I'll just to save time, I'll just click on this to launch Power Query Editor, right? So give it some time to open. take some time. I think my system is slow because I'm recording and doing a number of other things. So please bear with me. Okay, so I think it has opened. Yeah, so this is what you will definitely see the first time you open it. And like you would expect, the first thing we have to do is to connect to a data source. So we have launched Power Query. If you look here, I don't know if it will let me show you. Let me see if I can do that. If you look here, I now have what happened. Okay, well, it's not letting me do that. Okay, but sometimes you just see that there are two windows now. So this is the Power Query editor, right? And just like we saw in the other place, what we saw in the other screen, in the other window was basically the different sources of data you can connect on and manage your connections. But this is the main Power Query editor, right? You could see we have the first line, the first group of options, that is the tabs here. Here is where you can, it still looks like a number of other Microsoft product interface, right? But in this case, this is where you can save, like close and load, and then do a number of things related to it. Then this is the home tab. Here you can also see close and load. You can also, many of these options are disabled. Why? Because we have not connected to a data source. Until we connect, then we can now interact with this. So we have property advanced editor, we have managed, we have split and the rest. Then this third group is the transform, where you can perform data transformation. And then here is where you can use the add column, the view, right? So the first thing is to connect to a data source. So you could see here, new source, recent source, enter data, and then data source setting. Data source setting, you would need to, you can need this option when, for instance, you renamed your data and you want to reconnect to it or something like that. Manage parameters and the rest. So what we would want to do is to load new source from new source. And guess what? We still saw the same options we saw initially from file, workbook, CSV, and the rest. Same thing. So first of all, we want to see how to connect to an Excel file. I mean, we need to connect to an Excel workbook. So I'll click on that. And then it will now open up my directory for me to select connect to the data source I'm interested in. That is, I'll go to section 2. Then I would connect to this sample superstore 2020, I mean 2014 to 2016. So I'll click on that and give it time to load. Okay, so let's give it some time to load. So before I proceed, I hope you can all hear me. Someone should unmute and please confirm. And I hope I'm audible enough and the screen is clear enough for you to see what I'm doing.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. All
Yes,
right.
but
Okay, go on.
yeah, can you please go to your Excel? Let me just show me where you went and went for the Power Query,
Okay. Let me
just
close.
like a quick one.
All right. So to do that, I will have to close this.
You have to close.
Don't worry.
Oh,
Let me just. It's not a big deal. I want to seize this opportunity to show you something else. So I will get to that. Let me just do something quickly. I want to show you the structure of the data we want to connect to. So this is the data. So I'll open it up. Although we're not connecting directly to this, I just want to show you the format, the structure of the data. This data contains orders from 2014 to 20, from 2014 to, this is supposed to be to 2017. I thought I filtered it. Oh, sorry. I'm supposed to filter. I think I filtered it. Do something quickly. It's supposed to be 2014. 2017. Okay. Well, so okay, let me just show you. We have the first table here, which is orders, right? Which is the main table. We have returns, that is orders that we return, right? Then we have people. These are like managers. And then the different regions they manage. We have person and region. We have Anna. We have Anna in charge of West, Chuk in charge of East, and so on. So there are three tables or three queries in this data set we are connecting to. So I'll close it out. I just want to show you so you keep that in mind. All right. So back to you, Emmanuel. To open data, Power Query, go to Data tab here, and
Okay.
then you come here, come to this Get Data. Look at this group here. Look at the Get and Transform Data group. Everything here, you could see a bar here separating it, right? Can you see it? Let me zoom in. Can you
Yes, I
see the
see.
bar? This shows group. Everything from here, sorry, from that bar to the left, under Get and Transform Data. Then every other thing from here to this second bar is queries and connections and so on. So you are interested in Get and Transform Data. Whichever version of Excel you are using, you would find it around that Get and Transform Data group. So I would come here and then click on this Get Data, right? I'll click on Get Data. Then I can now launch Power Query directly. But yeah, click on that. I hope it's clear now. Is it clear now?
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
All right. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So, like I said, the first thing is to connect to a data source. So, I'll click on New Source from File, Excel Workbook. If it is a CSV file, you select CSV file, depending on this file type. So, it's now here. I'll click on this Sample Superstore 2014 to 2016. I'll click on it to select it. Then I import. I'll give it time to load. Let's give it some time to load. Alright, so we can see that it has opened up. And what do you see here? If you look to this very place, you would see we have three tables. Let me click on any of them. Just watch what is happening, what we would show in this preview pane here while I click on this place. So I'll click on orders first, and then it loads the data for me to preview. Let's watch. Give it some time. Alright, so it's showing me the data in the table I just opened, and then it's just for me to confirm that this is what I'm looking for, right? And it's actually what I'm looking for. Then I can also click on this very one, people. Remember what I showed you just moments ago, that we have three tables, we have three sheets or queries or tables depending on in the workbook. So these are the three tables here, and these are just showing the names. Sorry. The column that shows people, you saw it, this person, this region, Anna, West, and so on. Then this is returns, as we saw initially. Now, what do we do here? This is where we select the table we're interested in working on, right? So we want to work on the three tables because we want to merge, want to perform some basic cleaning on the main table, and then pull data from this other two tables to join so that we can have a larger table, combined table. So after this class, you would have an idea of how to combine data, different tables in Excel. So because I'm selecting multiple tables, I would come here and check this box, select multiple items, right? Then it now lets me select 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 3. This is the third one. So what do I do next? I would now click on OK to open up. Okay. So we'll give it time to load as well. Okay. So these are the three tables. Now, if you look, those options that were blanked out, then you could see that they are now enabled. I can click on any of them now, unlike before. we have the split column group by, replace, and use first row as, merge queries, append queries, and the rest, right? So the same applies to this one, the transform tab, where we have use first row, transpose, and the rest of that, extract, parse, and the rest. Then add column, you could see the same goes. So let me go back to the home, and then let me zoom back. So what can you see? You will notice here the three tables are here now. We have the first column here, which shows the queries. You could also call, maybe when here queries, it could just call it table, but it depends on the format. But queries are usually kind of representation of data, usually in tabular form, right? So if I click here, I can see those tables like I saw before. This is the first table. I've opened to click into the orders table. This is the people, and then the third one is the returns. So let's go back to the other orders. Now, if you notice, you will see that this is showing the preview of the data, the table, right? But then right above it, these are the different columns on light. Right above it, we have something that looks like a code, right? Let me click this to open up. So you could see that something that looks like code here, and it's actually code. But what is going on here exactly? This is showing us the, like, whatever. Remember I mentioned graphical user interface. In the end, it still has to be code that will run the commands we are running. But Microsoft has made it easy for us not to write these codes. So it means when I click a button to do perform a certain action, the code is generated. And the usefulness of this is that it enables you can come and modify it directly here if you're an advanced user, or you can, the code here will be saved such that the next time you connect to this very data source, you don't need to repeat this same process again. It will be saved. Your steps will be saved. So let me open the, okay, query setting has not opened yet. Okay, once we start performing certain actions, we are going to be seeing our steps here, like each step we take, right? So let me move this back. I'm surprised that this is not showing. That's a bit of query setting. Okay, so what I want to enable now is I want to enable query setting so that we'll be seeing these steps. This code will be represented in a more comprehensive way, that we don't need to worry ourselves so much about this one. So where will I do that? Sometimes if you open it, you see it placed by the side here. You'll also find it in other. But then if you don't see it enabled, just go to view, right? You could see query setting. If I click on query setting, yeah, it has opened. So it now, this very thing now shows us the steps we have taken so far in transforming this data, which was done automatically actually, because we've not really done much. So let me open it again. Now the first thing we did was to connect to a data source, which is to click on new source, then now go to our file folder, and then selected the sample superstore sales data that we have. Then after that, there's, from here I can come here and even edit the source that I connected to. So it's taking time. So if, for instance, the location of the data changed, I can just simply come here, click on this place, and then go back to my folder again. Or let's say I renamed this very data set, right? I would need to open the source, edit, go and pick the new updated file that I want to work on, right? So let me just close it because that's not the case here. Now this one now shows navigation, how we were moving across the differently. Then the other one here is promoted headers, right? Promoted headers in the sense that in the original data, let's go back to the step before. In the original data, we could see that we have something like column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, column 5. Meanwhile, the actual column names are supposed to be row ID. This very one, that is the first row here, is supposed to be the column name. So we have row ID, order dates, ship mode, and so on, right? So by the time I opened it, Power Query is smart enough to figure out, that is to make the first row the column name, and then that's what it did in this promoted header. So because when I click it, it moves this row up, like you have seen, you see now. So let me do that again. Let me just go back. you watch it come down, you will see that row ID. You see that row ID is now in first row here. Order ID, order date. But they are supposed to be here because that shows the name, the ID of the name of the column. So by the time we are here, they have moved up. So the other thing it did was to change data types. To change data type. Let's see the data type it changed. It converted the number of columns here, the data types of the number of columns here. For instance, this row ID column, it changed it to a number. As you can see here, in 64.type, it shows that it changed the data type here into number. And then what is data type? Data type just shows different representations of your data or the data in a column. This column could be a column containing numbers or text or date or time data, or it could be other, let's say even if it's currency, whatever type of data you have. So your data needs to, as part of data cleaning, your data needs to be in the right format for you to apply the right operations on it. Like you cannot be calculating 3 plus 3 on in a text-based column, right? So there are a number of data types. How will you know the data type that your data is in? If you look here, you're going to see something that looks like a kind of a rectangular this thing with a drop down triangle here, just here that I'm hovering. You could also see it here. In this case, you are seeing ABC. Here you are seeing something that looks like a calendar. Here you are seeing 1, 2, 3. Here you are seeing ABC, right? Those are different data types. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. In the first one, rather, not here, but here, right? The icon that is just immediately before the name of the column shows the data type, right? Like here now, we have 1, 2, 3, right? Here we have ABC, which shows that it's a kind of a text kind of data type. This one shows this icon that looks like calendar. That means it's a date information. This one is showing this one as 1, 2, 3. Meanwhile, it is date, ship date. So you could see that Microsoft Power Query could not accurately convert this one. This is supposed to be date, but it's showing it as number, right? So those are part of things you keep an eye for when you are cleaning the data. Then this is ABC. It's showing this one as text, which is correct, and then it continues like that. So it can try to convert the data type automatically, but if you don't want that, you didn't convert it correctly, you could also edit or change that. So if I click on this place now, if I click on this icon now, it shows me the options. Do I want this as a decimal number? It's not, this 1.2 shows decimal, or is it a currency, whole number, percentage, and the rest, binary and the rest. So in this case, row ID, we just for ID purpose, right? It's not like a really important column like that. We may need it to join different rows and the rest. Different tables and the rest. Then we have order ID. I think it's best left at yeah, it's in the right format. Then we have order date, right? It's only the date format, so it's in the right. Then we have ship date. This one is not in the right format yet, so it's in 1, 2, 3. That is a whole number instead of date time. Instead of date. So let me click here to convert it to date. Okay, yeah, just use the one in. Let me replace. Okay, give it time to effect. So you could see that it has converted this column back to date, right? I hope you are still with me.
Yes.
Okay. Then we have this column, which is a standard class. That's the ship mode. Yeah, it's in the right format, which is text. Customer ID, yeah. Customer name, yeah. Then a number of other columns that we have here. Let's ensure that they are all in the right format. Right, country, UK, city, and so on. Postal code, region, product ID, category, subcategory, product name, sales quantity, discount, and the rest. All right. So I think they are in the right format. So this data is not really that dirty, so we may not have much to do here in terms of data cleaning. But let's assume we don't necessarily need all this column here. Now, one thing you have to take note of is that whatever modifications we apply to this very table will not affect the underlying data here. It will not affect this one. We are not affecting this one directly. So any modification we are doing does not really change the format of this form, this very data, right? Instead, we are having our own copy, and we have created a connection to that very file such that we have our own copy here. Whatever we want to do here, we can do it without affecting the underlying data. And then the connection is such that we can set it to be automatic, so that whenever there is an update to this one, the moment we refresh our data or we set the data refresh to be automatic, then we can see it reflect here as well. I mean, reflect in the new data. Remember, we've not really fully finished our transformation. We just have to keep that in mind. That is what makes it elegant, right? Part of the things that make it elegant. So whenever there's a change to the underlying data, automatically it will reflect here. So you don't need to go do back and forth updating and the rest. You just apply a certain transformation. I mean, you just define a certain structure of workflow that 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 you need to apply to the data source, so that whenever you open it, Excel will apply those steps for you and you have your data in the shape it is supposed to be. So I think we don't have much to do here on this one. But let's just say I don't want some of the columns here. For instance, this product name. Since I have product category and product subcategory, I'm not sure I may be interested in seeing up to the details of product name, right? So I may just want to just remove this column, right? So I can just to remove a column, right? To select a column, just like we did in Excel the last time, you click on this bar that has the column name. So when you click, you have selected everything. Then let's just remove it. I can right click here. I just right click, and then I have options here. One says copy, remove other column. If I want to remove every other column and retain only this one, I choose it. But that's not what I want to do. I can duplicate. I can add column from an example. I can remove errors, remove duplicates, change type, right? Change type, the same thing we did here. You can still do it here. You can replace values and do a lot of things here. We can even fill up, fill down, right? Filling up and filling down means maybe there's a gap. We are going to see how to do that in the next data set we are going to work on. So I want to remove this column. I'll just click here, remove. Then the product name is gone. We've removed it. Now what happened? There's an updated step here. Initially it was at changed type. Now it's at removed columns, right? So it has added that step, and then the code here that removed the column has also updated. We have table.remove columns, that is change type and product name and the rest. Okay, so what else should I do here, or should we work on it? Product ID. We really need that. Okay, let me just remove this product ID. I don't really. Okay, product ID. Yes, I may need it when I want to connect to returns. Let me connect to. Okay, returns is order ID. Okay, we don't need product ID. We will not need it. So let me just remove that. Even row ID. Let me remove row ID first. Then product ID. Where is it? Okay, let's scroll. Product ID. Okay, this product ID. Right, I'll click on that. I just remove here. So another thing I would like to remove here is let's just have a look at what our data is like this country column. Now I could see it's just United States. So if it's just United States that is occupying the entire data set, I mean, like if I click here now, let me just click on this filter. I could see that it's just United States that is here. So it's just a redundant this thing. I already know that this data set is only the scope or the coverage of this data set is only for United States. So there's no need giving it its own column again. That column is not giving us any useful information. So I will have to remove that. Okay, sorry. Let me just remove that. I will right click and then remove. So it's gone. And then Florida and so on and so forth. So those are basically the few things we can do here. This data is not really dead. Okay, the other thing before we finish and close it part is how to connect tables. Like now, I would want to connect this people and returns, we want to have a column that shows who was the manager that, let's say, this very order now, who was the order that placed this order? Who was the manager that was in charge of um, this order, right? Fulfilling this order, and so on. Maybe we want to evaluate the performance of our staff. We want to know which manager has the highest returned orders or made the highest sales and all those, and we just want to keep track of those metrics. So we would like they are now it's in a separate table from this order table, right? Just like the returns, we want to keep track of returns. So how can we combine this data, this table here and this table here, just like this one as well? So that's let's see how to do that. Let me go back to the home tab. If you come here, you can see append queries and merge queries, right? Append, you typically do append when you are adding a data. Let's say when you are updating the data, putting, maybe let's say you have records from January to March, and then you have another record from April to June. You want to combine it to ensure the continuity of the data, right? To give it, to have a longer format, a longer data file, right? That's when you typically do append. But when you merge, the result of merging tables is that you are going to have an extra or a group of additional columns, right? But the result of appending queries rather is that you are going to have extra rows. So merging would give us something like an extra column or additional columns, like the column here. It will give you something longer, wider. But appending will give you something longer, in the sense that, let's assume we just have up to 5 rows here initially, right? When I append, I would have these additional columns under the first one. But when I append instead, I would have an extra column or new columns at the end. We're going to see how these are done. At least we're going to see how to merge. So we would like to have a column that represents the manager that fulfilled the order, right? And we'll also have to have another column that shows the orders that were returned, right? So let me merge first. I would merge these orders and returns first, right? So I would end up having a column that contains the returns, right, to show that the table was returned, the order was returned. So it will return true. It will not be in form of true or false. If the order was returned, it will show true. Otherwise, it will show false. So I will now click on merge queries, right? Click on merge queries. Two options here. I can either merge queries or merge queries as new. That is to create a new table. I don't want to create a new table. Let me just click on merge queries. It will open it. Remember, I selected these orders first before I click on that option. Can you see that orders here is highlighted? Orders is highlighted in light green, sort of, because that was what I clicked on first, right? So you could see that I have a kind of a preview of orders, right? It's showing me the same table we have been seeing all this while. So what do I do next? The next thing is to add the second table I want to join it with. So I'll click on this drop down, and then it will show me the other tables. It's showing me that current one selected is orders. You could see current in parentheses. So I will now click here. If I have multiple tables, I'm going to see the list of tables here. So I'll just select the one I'm interested in. I want to join returns and orders first. So I'll click on returns. I will now have the preview here. You could see column 1, column 2, return, and order ID, right? So yes. And how do I now join them? There has to be a common column or a way that you can generate column that is common between the tables you want to join. In this case, I have two columns here. I have order ID here. If you come to this one, you will also see order ID, right? They are common columns, right? So that's the thing. Before I do that, I would need to perform some basic cleaning on this second table. Actually, I forgot to do that. So let me just go back some steps. So let me go back to returns and then promote header. This one did not automatically promote header for us. Luckily enough, we'll see how to do that. So we are supposed to have returned and then order ID as the column names, but we are seeing column 1 and column 2. The default column names are assigned. So how do I do that? I'll come here, click on this one, this thing that looks like a kind of a net here. I'll click on it. I'll see the option that would ask me to use first row as header. First row as headers. I'll click on that. So it will now move it up. We now have returned here. We have other ID here as well, right? So the step has changed to promoted headers. Then it now, by the time it finished promoting headers, it now added another automatic step here, which is changed type, right? It changed this returned to text. It changed this other ID to text as well. So that's it. Then let me also clean this one, the people's column. I would want to also repeat the same thing. You can see that it's showing column 1 instead of the actual column name, which is person and region. Okay, so let me just do that now very quickly. I'll use first row as header. Let's do the same thing, promoted header, and then change type. Another thing I would like to do is, instead of person, I think it's better I put something like manager. So to edit the name of a column, I will come there, double click, right? And it gives me the option to edit. I'll now type, let's say manager. Okay, I think manager will make more sense. Then region, yeah, region is clear enough. So I now have the data, the tables in the format I want. Yeah. Then the next step is to go back to the step we wanted to take to merge the queries. So you could see that I selected this one first, right? I selected this one first. Then let me open the listing again. Merge queries. Then merge queries. Now, remember I said I selected the others table. It's for a reason I'm emphasizing it. The fact that I selected it first made it to show here, right? At the top. That one that showed at the top, you can call it left, right? Because we want to join two tables. Let's call the one that I selected first, the one showing at the top, left. Then the one I'm selecting afterwards, I will call it right. Just for me to now know, differentiate between the two tables, to know which one I'm referring to. So this one is called, this is the left table, this is the right table. Just picture it. I bring two tables here, two worksheets now, or two spreadsheet now. The first one is by the left hand, the second one is by the right hand, right? I want to join them so that I will now have something wider. So that's why this one is called left, this one is called right. Now, the thing is, what type of join do I want to perform? How do I want to perform this kind of join? Is it that I want to have pull data from this one to add to this one, or I want to pull data from this one to add to this one? What exactly do I want to achieve? In this
The
case,
screen is kind of jamming.
sorry,
I think your screen is jamming.
okay, it's not showing clearly.
It's showing, but are you moving the?
Is this
It's
step?
not moving accordingly. Yeah, it's a bit delayed.
Okay, I think it could be my network.
Maybe
I
the
believe.
network. Yeah.
Yeah. But is it too bad?
Mm,
Okay.
It's a
But right now,
little
is this
because
like stable?
when you're saying something, it's not matching with what you're clicking.
Oh. It has to be network.
Yeah.
I think the system is a bit slow because I think I have a number of things opened up. That's why it's a bit slow. Okay, maybe I would kind of be slower a bit so that then when the video is ready, you would follow up as
You
well.
said it. Okay.
It
All
will
right.
help me. So, but at least, can you follow up at least?
Yes, I can follow.
Okay. So I was saying it's either I want to pull data from this one and add to this one to this second table, or I am looking for pulling data from the first table to add to this one. Now, in this scenario, others is the main table. It's called fact table. Fact table is the table that contains the most important set of data you're interested in. If this is an e-commerce store, then orders is the most important thing we're interested in, right? Not necessarily the name of managers or orders that we returned. So this is the fact table, and it usually contains the main thing. Like now, it could even contain information about sales, profit made, discount, quantity, sales, the category of the product, subcategory, region, right? And the rest of that, of those information. So this is the fact table, and this is the most important table we have in this our data set. So what I typically would want to do is to pull data from this returned table and join it to the one in the fact table, right? So it means the join type I'm going to do, if I click, I'm going to see options. If I click it, I'm going to see options. Now one is asking me to, do I want to do I want to have everything in the left table? Remember I told you this is the left table, the first one we selected. Then I now bring in data that match from the second table. Data that match means this is our common column, which is order ID, like you can see here. And we want to see orders that were returned, right? So it means if this order ID is also here, right? Then I will join this and this, right? That means anywhere this order ID shows in this very table, I should pull this data, this information. I should join uh, at that row, right? So that's what this option is showing me. This is the left table. Do I want to retain everything in the first table, then pull data from the second to the first or left? Or do I want to retain the second table, which is the right table, this one, and then pull data from this one to this one? Or do I want to join the two of them so that even if another ID here is not available in this one, it will now still pull data and join, maybe perhaps populate it with an empty column or sort of, or full outer join. There are a number of joins you can perform, but mostly you typically would want to do left join, right? Whereby you pull the data from the second auxiliary table and then join to columns that match, or rows that match in the main table. So that's what we are going to do. And you could see that it was even selected by default here. So once I select it, I can click on, okay, let me just select that again. Once I select it, I can click on okay. Okay, sorry. I cannot click on this because I have not selected the common column. So what will I do next? I can come here, click on this common column for the first table. You see it highlighted in this shaded light shade. Then I can now come to the second table and then click on the same common column. You see that the two of them are now shaded, right? So this is enabled already. So I can now click on OK to perform the join. Now watch what will happen. We now have a new column here called returns, right? But what is showing here is like a table object, not an actual data. I was supposed to be seeing something like yes, 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 or sort of, but it's showing me table. So the joining, the merging is not yet complete. I would come here and click on this thing that looks like an expander. Click on it, and it will show me the columns in the table, that is in the returns table. What I just did was, at this point, Power BI just connected to that table, but I have not pulled the data yet. So it's now at this point that I will now pull the data. Click on this, then I now see the columns I'm interested in. So there are two columns here, returned and orders, and order ID, right? So I would not want to pull order ID again, since I already have order ID in the main table. So I can uncheck this one. Let me uncheck this one so that I only have that the original column name as prefix. I don't need this. You typically need this if there are going to be conflicting column names. Let's say there are discounts in the first table, discount in the second table. I can now put this one returned discounts, then orders discounts to differentiate between the two. I don't need that. Let me just uncheck it. So I click on OK to perform the merging. So in the end, I now have a column here with the actual data. You could see yes here. Where there is no data, we now have null. Null shows empty. That means the order was not returned. So anywhere there is yes, it shows the order was returned. Like now, this order ID order ID order ID CA 2017-110-100-111 was returned. Meanwhile, the one before it, this one, the one after it was not returned. That's why it's showing null, and so on. right? So we've connected to this table successfully, and we've combined these two tables. So we now have an extra column, like a new column created, like I mentioned. Merging will result in a new column, but appending will result in additional rows. Okay, so let's say I want to um okay, let's say I wanted to connect those two columns. Remember, I unchecked order ID, right? So let me just go back. Let's say I need the two of them, the two tables to show. So there are two of them are selected automatically. So let me just click on use original column name as prefix. So I'm going to have two extra columns here. That is returned, another ID, right? Yeah, so I'll click on that. So we're going to have two columns in this case instead of one. All right, nice. So just watch, you see that we have two columns. We have returns dot returned. Returns is the name of the table it came from, because I checked that you should use the name of the original table as prefix. So we now have returns dot returned. Returned is the name of the column, returns is the name of the table. Just like here, we have returns, which is the name of the table, order ID is the name of the column, right? So that's what the prefixing does for us. But remember that we don't really need this order ID. I just wanted to show you that step. So let me go back, or let me just the step I'm not interested in. I could just simply remove it. Oh really? Let me cancel it. Let me just okay. I can do it here. So let me just go back here and uncheck that order ID, and then uncheck this one too. Okay, we are back to where we were. Insert. We are back to this. Okay. Now, what do you get here? Where are we? There's an error. I don't need this step again. Expanded returns. I just have to remove it. Delete it. Take some time. Then this one too. Let me just delete it. I don't need this step again. Yes. So we are back to here. The column is as expected. Alright, so what we'll do next is let's do the second merging, whereby we merge these orders and people. Orders is already selected, so I will now go back again, merge queries, click on that, then the same thing we did initially. This is the left, then I click here. This time around I'll select people, because that's the second table we want to merge. The common column there is region. If you come to this first table, you're going to see region somewhere here. This region, I select it, come here, see region, select it. But the actual data I want to pull from this table is just this manager. The same thing I did here, it's already selected by default. Then I click on OK to perform the merge. Now the same thing we did, we expand, we uncheck region to return manager, because manager name is what we're interested in. Click OK. I hope you are still following at this point. Hello. Hello. All right, great. So what next do we have to do? This column is good enough. There's nothing to be done here. But this one, you see that we have null values. We have to handle it in a way. Now, it requires performing some sort of transformation such that if an order was returned, we can use either yes, that is yes and no, true or false, 1 and 0, or whatever format. But there are only two possible inputs in this column. It's either it was returned or it was not returned. And if it was returned, it's up to us to choose what to represent it as. If it was returned, we can choose to represent it as yes. If it was not returned, we represent it as no. That means we need to fill in for these null values. It means that all this place is showing null values. We are going to fill in with what? No. Or better still, we can use a Boolean type, which is true or false, right? Which is what we are going to do. So how do we do it? Let's perform some conditional um, formatting, column, conditional column, right? So what do we do? Let's go to transform. Let's go to transform. Okay, let me go to add column, right? I can just come here, click on conditional column. Conditional means that where there is yes, I can specify the value here, and then it will create a column depending on the value or combination of value in other columns, right? So in this case, I want to create a column whereby if this one is yes, it should return true there. Otherwise, it should return false. So let's just watch. I'll click on conditional column to open up. Okay. It's coming up. Now we have it here. What we have to do, it follows a simple logic. First of all, I'll give it a name. Let me call it return order. Let me just call it what should I call it now? Let me just call it returned. Let's call it returned. Or it gives me some warning. A column called returned is already existing. Let me call it okay, let me just call it returned one. Later on I'll rename it. Yeah, the error is gone. So the logic here is that if the value in a column name fulfills a particular condition, then the output in the new column we want to create will be something. We will just watch how it works. Let me just zoom in. So it means if column name, the column we're interested in is what? Returned, right? If let me zoom back to see the options. If returned, right? That is if the value in the column called returned equals or does not equal or begins with or does not begin with or ends with just the logic. So in our case, it is if the value we want to replace yes, whenever we see yes in this returned column, we want to put true in the new column we want to create. Otherwise, put no, false. So it means if returned equals, we're going to select equals, or if you're not so sure, you can select begins with or anything that makes sense in that case. So if it equals what? Yes, yes, right? Then the value in the new column should be what? Should I call it true? Let me just call it true. Or let me just call it yes. Now take note that there's another way I can achieve this without me having to create a new column entirely. So let's just quickly do this one and I'll show you that. So let me just say yes. Then add clause. Then else. If it's not yes, that means in that case, if it is null, then I will just put no, right? But if there are more than two possible outcomes here, I can still click this step to add another kind of a clause here. But that's not the case here. Let me just delete this. So when I click OK now, just watch what will happen. We'll have a new column here called return one. So whenever there is yes here, we have yes returned. But whenever there is a null here, we have no returned, right? That's it. I can then choose to convert this to a certain data type that I'm interested in, maybe a Boolean data type. I will delete this one because there's a simpler way to achieve it. The simpler way would be that I will just replace value here, this null value here. I can simply replace value here whenever there is null, return zero. Return no, otherwise leave it as yes. So how do I do that? I select this column, I go back to home, or you could even see it under transform. That is a replace. There's a function here called replace values, right? You will see it here. You could also see it in the home tab. Where is it here? I think it's around here as well. Yeah, you could see replace value here. So I want to replace value in this original column. So I click on replace value. What is the value to replace? NULL. Replace it with what? No. No. Simple. Then click OK. So it means that with this step, I did not even need to follow that longer process of a conditional column, right? But there are still other cases that it comes in handy. So I can just safely delete this one since we don't need it. Now we have returned, right? We want to convert this as now it's showing as text, no or yes, right? But it will make more sense to convert it to a Boolean type that is true or false, the data type. So I can just click on this icon and then select true or false. And then to ask me which one should we treat it as. Okay, there's an error here. What's the error? Okay. Which column? This one, change type. Okay, let me see. Okay, perhaps the issue is that maybe it's not recognizing this true or false here. Maybe let me just go back a step. Let's go back a step. So in place of where we are replacing the value, under this replace value, replace value, I can just in place of no, but in place of where there is no, I'll just put 0. I think it will recognize that one faster. Then let me try this option and see if it works. So now then let me replace values again for yes. Where there is yes, let's wait. Where there is yes, then return then 1. I think it will be better at handling that. Okay, so we now have 0 and 1. So what do I do next? Let me try and convert it again to Boolean and see if it will work. True or false. Okay. Why? Still showing error. Okay. Couldn't convert the logical. Why? Should be able to convert the logical. Okay. Okay, it means I think the option at hand now is we need to use conditional column, the one we did before, to achieve that, since this is giving us an error. So since we already have this column, let me just go back some steps and let's reuse that conditional column we did before to achieve that. So I will just simply go to conditional column. Let me call it just call it returned one. Once again, if returned equals yes, then let's use true, else let's use false. Let's hope this works. The true or false. Let me see if I can convert now. True or false. Okay, great. It has converted it without an error. Perhaps it did not recognize the 1 I entered as a numeric value or something like that. Or just expect this kind of thing from time to time. So in this case, this one is now a Boolean. If you look at here, you could see that it's no longer showing as ABC like this one. So it's in a different data type. So it's now in Boolean. So I can safely remove this one. Let me remove this old one, then rename this new one to returned. So let me just remove this one to returned, right? All right. Okay, yeah, that was renamed. And I think that's basically it. The other thing we would now do is to just merge, to load and transform. So we are done with connecting the three tables together. The next thing is now to load it to Excel, as in we are done with our data transformation. So I'll click on close and load. We have two options, close and load to or close and load. So for now, we just simply click on close and load to. Close and load. So it will now bring those data into Excel, as you would see shortly. So let's give it time to do that. So just watch what is going on here. So the data is loading. It will take some time. Okay. Loaded. Great. So we have 9,994 rows in the orders table. People will just have 4 rows, 296 rows here. Now, if I hover on any of these queries or tables, it gives me some options. I can even, if I hover, I can, maybe I want to change anything, I can edit. And then those steps I did apply to any of those tables when we're in Power Query Editor. I can edit any of those steps, right? So, but that's not what we want to achieve now. Now you see that the people and orders that we were, sorry, people and returns also loaded. Now you already know that we don't need those tables again, since we have the same data here. This is manager, this is returned from the two different tables. But if I delete it, I will not be able to delete it, since this orders table is connected to those tables. I don't want to see them and I don't need them at the same time. So what do? I can simply hide them. Let me click on this one, hide. Then let me click on this one too. Let me hide. Right. So I now have just this one. I don't need this one. I don't need this one actually. Let me just delete this one. This is just the empty table that was created. You can always create it if I need it. So finally, these are transformed table here. Okay. So these are transformed table. Now you may be wondering, why do I have to follow all this long process? You will soon see why. Let me save it. It's a new file. I can save it to my folder. Where do I save that? It is session 2, right? So let me give it a name. Transformed with Power Query. Right? Transformed with Power Query. Let me just click on save. So when we open here, you will now see that in this folder, we now have a new table called Transformed with Power Query. That shows that this is a different data set from this, or this one is connected to this. If I choose to save it elsewhere, the connection will still be retained, right? So whenever there's a change here, there will be a change here. Now let's see the application here. Let me just slightly modify this original table here, this one. Let's say at the moment we just have, how many categories do we have? At the moment we have just okay, let me create a new manager. I think that will be more straightforward. We have a new manager here called, we have how many managers here? Let me see them. There are 4 managers: Anna, Cassandra, Chuk, and Kelly, right? Okay, let me create a new manager, Norma.
Okay.
So I am creating it in the old data set, right? In the old Excel file. So let me open it. Just to make things easy, I would just copy some rows of data here. Just copy these rows here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let me copy them. Okay, let me just come here, do the modification I want to do, then copy it back, paste. Let me just paste them here. So what do? I will go to manager. Manager is not okay. Oh, I missed a step. This is not where I'm supposed to modify it. Manager, you will find manager in the second table, which is people, right? So I was doing the wrong thing. Pardon me. So you'll find managers under people, right? So let me add a new manager called Norma, in charge of where? Nigeria. Sorry, in charge of where? Nigeria. Okay. So what would you notice? I would need to create some fake rows here, just like I wanted to before. So let me copy these rows here and let me just create some orders for Norma, who has just been hired. So let me just create. How do I achieve this now? I'm looking for a kind of a. Okay, let me look for some. I think I can achieve it, but it might take us more steps than necessary. So let me just look for something that is kind of more straightforward. Let's say there is a new class created. Please pardon the other step I wanted to take about creating a new manager. It's going to take us more time to do that, to combine, and that we don't have time for that. So let me just say there is a new ship mode, right, called flight. So let me replace this flight, right? Flight. Everything here is flight, right? So I just copied it here to modify it so that I can copy back. So let me just copy this thing back here and then go back here, go to the last line or anywhere at all and paste it. So that I'll just select here, paste it. So we now have this called flights, right, in the original table. Now let's see what will happen. Let me save it. Saved. Let me go back to the other one. Just transform. This is transformed with Power Query. At the moment, it's still showing ship mode. There are still how many categories in the ship mode? This ship mode at the moment it's first class, same day, second class, standard class, right? But we just created a new one called flight. So how can I make that reflect? I will need to refresh the data. So I click on data, refresh all under queries and connection, which is here under queries and connection. I can click on refresh all. It will take some time. It might take some time. I think it's done. So guess what will happen now? Let's go back to ship mode. And interesting. Why? Okay, yeah, it's not yet done refreshing. So we will see running background query. So when this is done, okay, yeah, I think it's done refreshing now. Let me go back again. So you could see flights, right? So we now have flights in our category. I did not need to change anything in the transform table, right? I did not need to change anything in the new table. New table, I only updated the old table. So the steps in cleaning the data I applied to the old table automatically reflects in the new table. So once you are done defining your data structure, data cleaning steps, you just go on and continue with other work. You don't need to come back and still be cleaning your table all the time. But imagine that I am just editing this thing manually. I can run into accidental deletion of data, or I can screw things up and then I can soil a lot of things. But even if anything goes bad in the table here that we just created, I can just go here and edit the step. I can just simply go back and edit the step. So let me go back to actually view.
If you clean data, but maybe you realize you cleaned the wrong thing, what do you do?
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting question. Yes, that means you can always go back to your step, right? You can always go back to your step. So I'm trying to see how I can get back to this.
Like CTRLZ, does this still apply?
What?
Go back to your step. How?
Yes. Okay, let me just I think I should find it under edit query or so. Let me just navigate and see if I can open that. I hope Emmanuel is still with us. Emmanuel, are you still there?
I think he has left.
Oh, really? So what will happen is editing my steps means I can just come back to this data here. Under data here, I can see queries and connections, right? So
Query
let me just
connection, yes.
let me see. Let me just guess if it's here. Let me click at yeah. We are back to this. I can see queries and connections. So what will I do? I can just hover on that. I sorry. I can just hover on that. Can we take it? Alright. Let me just do it one more time. Hover on it gently. Then come here, edit. Click on edit. So we're back to Power Query.
Yeah.
We're back to Power Query now. Let's give it some time to change to load. Alright, so you could see that all the steps we took before are still intact, right? So let's say I want to what was that column I deleted that time? I deleted some columns like country. Yes.
United States of America,
Yes.
yes.
So let's trace back our step. Remove columns. Was that here? Let me guess. Okay, let's guess that the step before it, the column should still be there. So let's check. Okay, this country, right? So what will happen now is the code, the moment I'm here, the last thing I did, the step here, I can see the code here. So now, if I come here under removed columns, if I click into it, I'm not going to see country here, but then I'm going to see that in the code here, I made those changes. So let me just quickly click this one to pull down. What do you notice? We now have the code that generated this thing. So we have table.remove columns is the function that removes columns. Then it now lists the names of columns that were removed. In this case, first of all, changed type shows the last step we took. That's the state of the table before we did the removing of before we did the transformation, right? So we have to reference that. That's what it represents. Then separated by a comma. Then we now have the names of the columns removed. We removed product name, row ID, product ID, and country. Each of them separated by comma. The names of the columns are in double quotes, right? As you can see here, right? Then separated by comma. So what do? You gently come here, remove everything from the quotation mark to the second quotation mark. Then if possible, remove this other comma. Since it's not separating anything, let's delete it. So what do you expect? We expect now that in the new data, like after transforming and loading,
So as you just deleted the country from code,
yes,
it automatically deletes this from.
yes, final data that we transformed. Just watch now. Oh, sorry. So let's go back to the last step here, and we are supposed to see country. Right? Just okay, the last step here. So let's trace it. We are supposed to see country. Yeah, see it This is it. So exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So you can still trace your step back in case things change. Then just know the last thing you did before that, then when you took that particular action, everything here is descriptive. Merged queries, that's where you merge tables, expanded people, and then added conditional coding and all that. So if you know the step you took that caused that particular change, you can just go back there and then you will see only the line of code that generated that. So you're not going to see a kind of a messed up. Now, everything you're seeing is just simplified. If we say, let me click on Advanced Editor, you are going to see all the steps you have applied so far. This is where you now
Advanced
do
editor.
the dirty coding. Yeah, this is it. So these are all the steps. First of all, connected to the source. Second one, you now put the kind of sheets, the promoted header, everything we have done so far, right?
Okay.
So, but then in clicking the other step, I'm only going to see like where we removed the name of the country, which is this one. It's just showing me only this one, the code here that I can change it, not everything.
Okay.
So, should we still retain that country column? Okay, let's retain it. Let me just load.
Reduce it.
I should delete it. Okay, we don't need this
Mm.
actually. Let me just remove it. Then what do I do after this? I will just click on close and load. And then it will take some time to refresh too. Okay, it's already loaded. That was fast. Okay, just updated. Okay, it's running in the background. Loading, updating this one. Something loaded. Okay, 9,999 rows. Yes. So that's it. I think we took all the time for just um oh gosh. Please let me plug my device before it shuts
Oh,
down. Okay, so and then I will quickly show you how to connect to websites. It means it's be difficult to cover everything we have for today. But I think in the process we actually covered a lot. Yes, we covered the interface walkthrough, connecting to a text that is a Excel file, then using Power Query for data transformation. Okay, hands-on. Okay, what we did not do was a kind of a thorough data cleaning. Yes, we could not do that. Well, then, which one do you prefer? Do we go for website or performing actual data cleaning, whereby in addition to what we have done already, we can see how to clean the dirty data and put it in a structured format. Which one would you find more useful? Is it how to connect to a website data or how to clean data?
how to find website data. Is that what you said?
Yeah, how to connect data from website to Excel.
Yes. How? Let's do that one.
Okay,
The how to connect on the website.
all right. So we let me save this. I think I've saved that before. Okay. So the next thing we have to do is still going to follow the same process. We're still going to click on data. It could be from web, so it will just be more straightforward. But I normally prefer launching it first. Let me launch Power Query. First of all, let's see the kind of the let's check out some interesting data we can work on from let me just go to um, Wikipedia. Their tables are usually structured. I like very structured table. So let me just
So
check out
is it
word.
the same? Launch Power Query.
Yes.
Okay.
World population by country. Here's Wikipedia. Alright. List of countries and dependencies. Or it could just be world population. List of countries and dependencies. Fine. We can see a number of tables in this on this website. This is a table here. Yeah, it's a table. And it's just one table on this website. Or I think one main table. Okay, these are still these could still be tables, but the main table we're interested in is this one. You still follow the same process. Or there's
Okay.
this interesting. Alright, let me not do that. Let's see how we can bring this data to Excel. Is that okay? The first thing
Yeah.
you will do is copy this URL. Copy. Let's go back.
The whole.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's go back. Then I think by now I have launched Power Query. It did not launch well. Okay, maybe I'll have to relaunch it. Okay. Now let me click on new source. Then other sources. That's where you find web. Click on web. Now this is where I can place the URL.
Wait,
But
you click on after you copy.
yeah, I just launched
Okay.
Power Query. But the reason it's showing me this old table is because I have not closed it, right? So it's still
Yeah.
showing me, it's still thinking I'm going to do something that has to concern this table. But maybe I should just close it out and then just close it out. Then we'll start afresh. Let's do it as a different project. Yeah, let me save it. So let me open Excel again as a fresh. Excel is coming up. Oh, it's taking time. Okay. All right. Don't know why you are doing like this. Maybe it's because of what I'm recording. Okay, so we are back into Excel. Back to the bottom. Click data. Take note. The same step. I can just quickly come here directly, but I prefer launching it here so I just have everything once and have that focused. So launch Power Query Editor. So I normally launch it first, and then let's give it time to launch. Then I can now have, okay, it's coming up, new source. Okay, that has opened. Just here, new source. There you'll find web under other sources. That's where you find it. Web.
Under new sources.
No, new sources contains everything. Then on other sources within new source.
Okay.
So this is where I'll paste the URL. Basically, we don't need to do some kind of advanced thing. For most use cases, you will just need to plug in the URL here. Then click OK. Just give it time. But you have to have an internet connection, as you can see here.
Mm.
So wait for it to. So we have to wait for it. What it's doing now is it's making some requests to there's a Wikipedia website, and it's sifting through the website to pull as many tables as it can find. Now, how do you know a table on a website? If I click on Control Shift I, right, I will be able to see the page, that's the source, the code that runs this website. And tables are usually enclosed within a table tag, table HTML tag. So I can find let me do Control F to search. I can find this is how a tag looks like. This angle opens it. There is a less than sign. They now have table, right? So you will see this is the first table. If I click on it, I can expand, right? Table head,
Mm.
and so on and so forth. So you could see if I hover on this thing now, look at what's happening here. If I hover here, it shows me which part of the actual table it is. Now this is table row. Let me expand it. You
You
see
you
this?
put Control Shift I.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is showing me the table row. This is the element I selected. This is another element. You could see that as I'm moving my cursor to the right, if you look at the right of the screen, can you see it? It's right hand where my cursor is.
Mm.
Then it's showing some kind of changes in the left side, which is the actual website, showing me which position I am. So it shows that this is just a table, right? So it's searching through the website to pull out as many tables as possible. Table body contains everything. Table head is the head, table row, and so on and so forth. So let's see if it's done searching. It has seen three tables. It saw three tables on this web page, but to us, we may just be interested in one of those tables, which is this one, because the other table may just be the one for documents, that's the coding related stuff. We may not really be interested in that, but you can still preview it to confirm what you are seeing. So I go back here. Let me just click on this one, documents. It will show me gibberish. This is not what I'm looking for. If I see what I'm looking for, I will know. List of countries and territories by total. Yes, this is what I'm looking for. Let's look at table one. Table one, countries by population statistics. This is not what I'm looking for. Country population by no. If you see what you're looking for, you definitely know, right? This is what we're looking for. List of countries and territories by population. But the structure might vary depending on the website itself and how it was coded. But I know that the list of countries and territories by location is the title given to this table. That's why it was able to recognize it accurately here. Then I have this first one, location, population, percentage of world. Let's go back here. It may not show as exactly as that, but we have location. Here it's not showing anything, it's just a styling. Like for sorting it. Location, population, percentage of world, date, source, which is official or from the United Nations. Okay, this population, percentage of world, date, source, official or from the United Nations. So basically I have this table here. What do I do next? I just click on OK. And that way I have loaded it to Excel. If there are multiple tables, I can select just like we did before. Select multiple. I can check that box, select multiple tables and load them. And then they will the list of tables will just show the way we saw the first tables we worked on, which are orders, people, and returns, right? They will just be listed here. So it's already, this is the first step, source, navigation, and change type. So that's how you connect to a table. But it still has its own limitations because each website is programmed differently and different complexities might come to play. So there are times you get to work on some complicated websites that it might require the use of advanced techniques. That's where web scraping, if it is um, an option to you, or you could use other methods. That's the coding thing comes in, or other methods entirely. So, but for basic websites, you can actually connect to them just with these steps we took. Connect to them, pull out the data you are interested in, and then clean the data and continue with your analysis. So we have just 12 minutes left, and I think we have covered as much. So maybe should we spend this remaining 12 minutes? If you have questions, we can go through it, and then because I'm sure we will not be able to we will not be able to cover. Maybe we'll um make out time next time to cover to do kind of a thorough data cleaning this thing session. So for now, if you have questions, you can bring them up, and then we briefly discuss and end by 10 p.m. if you have to stay for that long. Thank you very much for following up to this point. Okay, are you still there?